welcome to a cover story conversation with Sohail Seth. He's a political columnist, commentator, ad man, marketing guru. Sohail, welcome to this conversation. But as usual, we're going to focus more on politics today. My first question to you is, Sohail, now we can see even the Prime Minister Modi's got into election mode. It's a time to be, looking back at the 9 years of his government. What is the big issue that he can take to the people? What has been the defining issue of the Modi government?
If I were to give one umbrella positioning statement to the BJP, it would be, we have delivered everything we said we would. So let's go step by step. What did Modi and the BJP say in their manifesto? There were three critical areas. One area was the CAA. The other was abrogation of Article 370. And the third was the Uniform Civil Code. The Uniform Civil Code will happen. Knowing Modi's track record, it will happen. He's not used to criticism for criticism's sake, and the opposition does not have a cogent argument. But let's go back into the list of achievements, and that's very important. To my mind, the primary thing that Modi has done is he has snuffed out corruption at the union cabinet level. What used to happen was there was a very cozy club, and you could use that cozy club and its membership to get yourself policy changes, to get yourself grants, to basically manipulate the Union of India's economic, social, and political policy. That has stopped. You talk to industrialists, you talk to corporate leaders, they say we don't have to go to Delhi anymore. It's within a framework of a policy. But the most important thing, Priya, which needs to be parked, is he has made every Indian a tool of egalitarian empowerment. Today, it doesn't matter whether Priya Sahgal is a journalist of great repute or Sohail is, an ordinary citizen, Ramu, the plumber, or Joy, the thelawala, they all have the capacity to turn their lives into their own control. And let me tell you why. Digitization is an equalizer. In a democracy, as has been famously said, you are as strong as your weakest link. In that process of digitization, he has engineered, to my mind, a technical as well as a corruption-free model. Today, the whole process of cash is slowly drying up. Will it be eliminated? Never. It hasn't been eliminated in most countries. Cash is seen as a psychological tool of both empowerment, just like in our country, gold is, or, bullion, whether it's silver or gold. The other thing that's happened to my mind, and, the BJP has not been great, it's been all right, in actually listing out not its achievements. See, the problem, Priya, is they list out achievements. What they need to list out is how lives have changed. I'm not interested in Jan Dhan. What I'm interested in is जो रीना कुमारी एक गांव में बसती है, उसका जीवन कैसे बदला है. तो जो आपका जीवन बदला है क्योंकि भारत बदला है. So now I'm giving thanks to Priya Sahgal free advertising line. भारत बदला है और भारतीयों का जीवन बदला है. And it has changed, no matter what you might say. Whether it was the management of COVID, whether it was a direct benefit transfer, these things have happened. Also, what Modi's done is he has not taken credit, but he has taken the implementation credit. Please remember, it was Nandan Nilekani who created the Aadhaar, but who made it a tool of KYC? Narendra Modi. Manrega, which Modi criticized, but Modi adopted. The point is that Modi is credit agnostic when it comes to implementing things that others may have started, as long as it's good for the country. So this is domestic. Internationally, there has been a visible change. You talk to senior diplomats, some of whom I know very well. They will only say one thing to you, that today we have a foreign policy which is tough. It is not a foreign policy of subversion, submission, subjugation. Number two, if you see the relationship that Modi has established with the GCC countries, with Saudi Arabia, it was never heard of. You couldn't have imagined. The other thing is, and Ukraine is a clear example of how we flexed our muscles saying it is not our war, but it's our people. So if we have to buy oil from Russia, we will. because we have to support our economy. The other very important thing, which I was telling someone the other day, is that today you're able to pay for oil to Saudi Arabia in rupees. Unheard of. Unheard of. A Priya Sahgal goes to Champs-Élysées in Paris, she can use her UPI to pay. She can do the same thing in Oman. She can do the same thing in Qatar. What has happened is you have not only economically redefined India across the world, you have helped Indians redefine themselves, recalibrate, rejuvenate. Therefore, the pride of being Indian has been beautifully established. Are there glitches? Of course there are. Are these NRI shows a bit over the top? Of course they are. But look, when you're looking at the lowest common denominator, your approach has to be very rustic, rudimentary, and basic. It can't be all, elegance and panache, where you only go and address the Council for Foreign Relations and have a conversation with one journalist to about 30 people. So he has also, in foreign policy terms, redefined the respect, the reward, the relevance of India in the Comity of Nations. That, to my mind, is a very important step. What are the problem areas? The problem areas are, and this I've said repeatedly on your program, the narrative needs to move from religion to relevance. It needs to move from Hindu Muslims to development for all. You speak to Muslims in Lucknow, they will tell you कि पहले जिंदगी में इतना जो लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की सुविधा आज है वो पहले कभी नहीं थी. Now bulldozers, when they bulldoze, they must bulldoze with equanimity. It cannot be against one group or another. What Modi has been unable to do, and there is a clique, it's a vicious cycle and circle, if I can use the phrase, of the so-called liberal oblique woke media, whose anger against Modi is not because they hate him. It is because he has made them irrelevant. You see, earlier, people would say, "Yaar, I have a hotline to this minister, main appointment kar sakta hu, main ye kar sakta hu, wo kar." It's over. Because Modi doesn't care. And the last thing, before we jump on to the next question of yours, is he has also taken the gloves off in what I would call traditional areas. If you remember, under Babji, under Vajpayee, then Sonia, the children of politicians were never a target. So they could do what the hell they wanted. That has changed. There are no holy cows for Narendra Modi except the ones with 4 legs. He doesn't really care. He's not interested whether it's person X or person Y or person Z. Are the agencies being misused? To my mind, no. And I'll tell you why. People say, oh, but the record of the Enforcement Directorate in conviction is in single digits, blah, blah, blah. आपको डर तो आ गया ना. Today, more and more people who have things to hide are either fleeing the country or falling in line. A, B.
Or joining the BJP. Let's not forget that.
Which I will come to, which is a problem area. The second is, let's take a not so recent example of Partho Chatterjee in Calcutta. The ED raided him. They found money now. It's not as if they didn't find anything. So, is it political targeting? Even if it is, how does it matter? The Enforcement Directorate is an investigating agency. It is not a caterer where it has to serve everyone. Now, usme, you see, there's an old Bernard Shaw saying, when whales fight, shrimps are eaten. Some shrimps will be eaten. But the point is, जो moral value destruction हो रही थी, वो बंद हुई है कि नहीं? काफी हद तक बंद हुई है. Look, Modi has been in power for 9 years. If you calculate, 9 years is less than 10% of our years of independence.
Yeah.
In that sense, or almost there. I mean, for God's sake, you have to cut the man some slack. Yes, there are problems, but the problems are with nationhood and evolution of a nation. These problems will remain. Please remember, Priya, when February 1 and 2 happened in 2002, you may blame Modi, but the spark was not Modi's spark. But then he was exonerated by a Supreme Court which was in session under a government which was completely alien and antithetical to Narendra Modi. So my
No,
point,
let's talk about Modi, the Prime Minister. Modi, the Chief Minister,
I
has been.
think Modi, the Prime Minister, has been outstanding. I've said this publicly and I will say it again. And I've given you the reasons. Modi has delivered. He has promised, he has delivered. Is the hyperbole? Where is there not? On the intervening nights of 14th and 15th August 1947, what tryst with destiny? When people were being burned alive, when we did not speak to the British in a manner of firmness and allowed this wretched partition to happen in the most irresponsible way, with Ratcliffe just doing it, without any sense.
But Sohail,
से प्राइम मिनिस्टेरियल लेक्चर दे रहा है और उसमें he has induced some electoral promises, so be it. He's a politician. He's not an evangelist.
well, today I'm not going to agree with you at all. In fact, in what in a lot of things, usually you and I are in agreement. I mean, I can understand you giving Modi some credit, but anything wrong is historical wrong. Anything right is Modi's right.
I'll tell you what is
Second,
wrong.
okay, let me just finish. The second point is acts have been done, his whether it is digitization or anything that you've been giving him credit for, there was already a system in place that led up to this moment. It wasn't that happened.
I have said publicly on Twitter, on Instagram, day before yesterday, when it was Rajiv Gandhi's birth anniversary, I said, salute to the man who envisioned technology as a great tool for Indian empowerment. I've always said. My point is, and I go back to my opening remarks, I'm not saying Modi is the inventor. I use the word implementer. There's a difference between invention and implementation.
But he's not credit agnostic. Why doesn't he then give the same credit as you are giving to the past? A past mein everything galat hua tha. Main aaya and I've solved everything.
मैं तो मोदी नहीं हूं, पर नहीं, एक बात है.
He's not credit
agnostic. Years ago
in
marketing, clients would tell me, "Oh, it's a great idea." I said, an idea is nothing unless it is seen, playing, working, implemented for a brand. Priya Sahgal can have a great idea how to market that clock behind her. Fine. But if you don't market it, to kisne dekha, it's like a ship in the night. It sails, no one sees it. What Modi has been able to do is he has implemented it, और उस implementation का जो श्रेय है, जो credit है, he has taken. आप ले लो. Now you tell me, instead of attacking Narendra Modi on issue A, Z, and F, the Congress should say that we are delighted. Here's thanking Narendra Modi for following Rajiv Gandhi. Now, Bhupesh Baghel, how is
Baghel. He's not a breakfast croissant.
He said he ran a full-page ad on Mr. Gandhi's birth anniversary.
Right.
See, if I were him, I would say, here's thanking Rajiv Gandhi for the following. Manrega, digitization, technology, India being the IT capital, outsourcing. उन्होंने किया नहीं. So, भाई, मैं ये आपको बोल रहा हूं, it is not Modi's business to now prepare the marketing plan and the communication plan for the opposition.
Fair enough.
Business. तो आप लोग श्रेय ले लो. Remember an old rule. The one who talks the loudest and the firmest is often seen as the one who's done it. It's never true. But that's the reality of the times we live in. Plus, you're right, he has used the machinery, both of the party and the state, to advance his thoughts, to advance. Now, you tell me, how many prime ministers in India would have had the rigor of a Man Ki Baat and followed it through? B, can you begrudge him the fact that he's one of the most hardworking prime ministers India has ever had? भाई, अब आप बोल रहे हो यार उसने ये गलती की है, of course गलती की है. I'll tell you what the galtis are. Number one.
Before the galtis, you said that people are not influencing policy decisions. That's very naive. The whole problem is that people who are influencing policy decisions is limited to just a few. We've seen it. Why are high income individuals leaving India? Why is
I know of people, high income individuals who are leaving India. They're leaving India because the screws are being tightened on them. They are going as economic.
Perhaps that's why they're leaving India. So your friends are also leaving, some of them.
I'm saying they are going as economic fugitives. I've used the word. Now you tell me, if the 112 as on date unicorns have been established in India, they've established the country, na?
established, but the amount that are also fading out is equal. If you look at
But Priya, the norm across the world of
uh,
success of startups is anywhere between 1 to 6%. That's why you have one Facebook. That's why you have one X oblique Twitter. It doesn't work like this. In any brand category, we used to say that if your brand is not in the top three or trips of the tongue, it's useless. How many toothpaste brands do we have in India? Must be at least 700.
right.
So उसमें कोई logic है नहीं. Plus, you have to understand that while he has assiduously done what he's done, the narrative has always been to point. Where he has faltered is as follows. This country cannot and will not be divided. So no matter what people say, oh, Muslims are under fear and all, this is all bullshit. I have seen, yes, Arundhati Roy made a comment to some group saying, I've seen cross marks outside doors of Muslims. This exaggeration and this defacement and debasement of our own country must stop.
Yeah.
Because you hate Modi, you cannot debase an entire nation. I love my Muslim friends. I've always loved them. I will continue to love them. For me, their religion is not important. They love me not because I'm a Hindu, because they don't care. Will I say that, bhai, I'm also guilty? Why should I be guilty? Why are you tarring the entire nation with the same brush? Communalism क्या मोदी ने पैदा की थी? 1943 में क्या हुआ था? उसके पहले क्या हुआ था? Mahatma Gandhi, where was he on the intervening nights of August 14 and 15? Noah Khali. Because it was smoldering, it was burning. We had 672 riots.
He didn't start the fire, but is he dousing the fire? That is the question.
So that I'm coming to. He has repeatedly said, but not enough, to my mind, he has repeatedly said that development must be our mantra, not division. But there are people, errant people in his party, just like there are errant people in the Congress, just like there was Mulayam Singh. Bhai, errant people ki koi kami nahi hai. And a lot of these people want to say things because they feel that they will be seen as more loyal to the king than the king himself. That is a problem. I've said this on your program hundreds of times, that Modi should come down on them like a sledgehammer, saying that you are destroying what is left of this country's narrative.
Why do you think he doesn't?
That's a great question. I have seen one thing in Modi. It's a very unique Sun Tzu art of war strategy.
Which is?
If there is something that is complex, controversial, tricky, he just lets it be. And Sun Tzu used to say that there are two ways of addressing a problem. One is jumping into it, letting it be, it will sort itself out. Very much like Narasimha Rao used to do.
I was just going to say that.
Very much like Narasimha Rao. I call it the in the drawer strategy. भाई अगर आपके पास प्रपोजल आया, आप या ना हाँ कहोगे ना कहोगे, आप ड्रॉर में घुसेड़ दो. If it's relevant, it will come out of the drawer onto your mind and then get implemented. So that's.
But masjid गिर गया ना, Sohail, at the end of the day.
Masjid किसने गिराई? Who gave the permission? See, the other problem is the history of India was written by these so-called woke liberal leftists. I'm telling you.
I agree with you. I agree. There is a no narrative.
People turned the narrative of the history that we learned. Am I proud of that history? Not at all. Did Babri Masjid have to fall? But who unlocked it? Who gave the advice to Rajiv Gandhi? Arun Nehru. Who remained silent? Narasimha Rao. Narasimha Rao was the Nero who was fiddling. Did Advani sneak in through with car sevaks in the middle of the night without anyone knowing? He announced it. He did it in the Rath Yatra. Now you tell me, we keep saying Muslim, Hindu, Hindu, Muslim. Who's doing the maximum number of appeasement today? Who has done the massive appeasement in the past? The Yadavs, the Mayavatis, today Mamta. You know why?
And the Congress, huh?
And if you read your own friend, Mr. Yadav, or you read someone else, I think it was Mukhalika, I can't remember who. They always had the belief that the Muslim community voted en bloc. They would vote en bloc. So it's 20%, 20% would go. The Hindu vote often gets divided because of caste, creed, whatever. All these parties were appeasing. Aap mere ko bolo, Bengal, where I was born and raised, cradle of civilization, cradle of secularism, cradle of equanimity and equality. We never had a situation like this. आपको मालूम है, after the state elections, there was mayhem and murder. Now, I will say one thing, which will be controversial and politically incorrect. I have known Mamta Banerjee. She is a nice human being. She's not a bad sort. What the compulsions are for her or her people to indulge in this, I don't understand. Number two, you must understand the electoral history of Bengal. 1967 started the Naxalite movement, which was famously said was born on the playing fields of
So
presidents.
I interrupt you because we need to take a break. I'm going to come back and we're going to keep the focus on Mamta Banerjee and now the opposition. So stay with us after a quick break. Hello and welcome back to a cover story conversation with Sohail Seth. Sohail, before the break, we talked about the Prime Minister and his achievements. Now, the opposition. You were in fact giving us a little bit backstory about Mamta Banerjee. Why is she the way she is?
I think there are political compulsions. And as I told you, the Muslim community was understood to have voted always en bloc. They wouldn't vote in splinters. And she believes that 20% though is guaranteed. Number one. Number two, I have worked with Mamta Banerjee in the railway board when I was giving them advice on the marketing of platform stations, जो आज implement हो रहा है. Now you're talking about idea and implementation, वो आज हो रहा है. जो idea मैंने Mamta Banerjee when she was railway minister and Mr. Gujral the Sardar ji was the chairman of the railway board. ये तो हमारे देश का हाल है, ठीक है? Now here's the thing, and I, as you know, am totally apolitical. I've created the word bhagidari for Sheila Dikshit, as you know, which she has even attributed to me in her biography. So I don't care about the party. I'm more interested in the nation. Having said that, Mamta Banerjee, the one I know, has a heart of gold. She's not vicious. She's not. Now, what the political compulsions are, I don't know. Some people say that she's been pushed into this corner because she's fearing a Hindutva backlash. The point very simply is, and if you recall, I said it on one of your NewsX programs, for too many decades, the majority was made to feel guilty about being the majority. And the minority appeasement happened in order for us to establish ourselves as a secular country.
Right.
आप जिस time appeasement करोगे, उसी time आप दरार फैला रहे हो. The day I appease someone versus Priya, it means I'm creating the division. This is a legacy issue which Modi has inherited. Now, the only way you can untangle this is by creating equanimity and equality for the development of that country, which in this case is our beloved country, which can only happen in areas that are agnostic to religion, caste, creed, technology, infrastructure. आपको ये हाईवे तो नहीं पूछता ना, आप अल्लाह को वर्शिप करते हो या शिवा को वर्शिप करते हो, आप उस हाईवे पे चलते हो. As long as we continue to focus on technology, infrastructure, income, livelihood, dignity of livelihood, there'll be no problem. And that will happen. See, Priya, we are an evolving country. Please understand, we were born in 1947 as an independent nation, which Rahul Gandhi calls a union of states, but we'll let that pass. But our civilizational legacy is over 5,000 years. How do you compare the civilizational legacy to this short span post-independence? Plus, also remember the subjugation, economic subjugation of the license Raj, right up to 1991, deprived people of the opportunity to succeed. Many years ago, I was asked in a public lecture, why is India poor? I said, India is not poor. Every country has poverty. Our problem then was the impoverishment of opportunities. So if Priya was talented, but because she was born where she was born or at her station of life, I deprived Priya of education. Right. I deprived Priya of primary health. That deprivation is the worst form of impoverishment. वो भी change हो रहा है. कैसे होगा? If you create a uniform national education policy, who did a brilliant job on that? Kapil Sibal. We have to thank him. Until the NEP was announced, there was no national education policy. We were a country of cookie cutters. Narayan Murthy of Infosys famously said, every person who leaves IIT or ITI, we have to retrain the person in Infosys. Today that has changed. Our sociological and societal order was a bit skewed. I would say, I want someone who IAS hai, IFS hai, IPS hai. Today, no one is bothered about whether you have a college degree or not. They're not looking at education. They're looking at knowledge and skills. Bhai, desh badal raha hai. We have to be positive. I'm always an optimist in these matters because I believe this man is doing a great job. Do I agree with him all the time? No, no one does. But no one, you don't agree with your own parents. You don't agree with your own spouse. But you are entitled to disagree without being disagreeable. What is happening is we have started being disagreeable when actually all we want is to disagree. Dissent and dissension must follow or precede debate. वो भी नहीं हो रहा. It's my way or the highway. People
from both sides.
I'm saying people across are taking strident positions. You remember we did a show after Bharat Jodo Yatra where I said Rahul Gandhi, the brand has now been totally reinvented. Did I or did I not say it? I said it. I still believe Rahul Gandhi is doing a fabulous job in terms of the reinvention. Will that translate into votes? I don't know. I'm not a psephologist. That you've got all your other pals who come on your program. But from a purely citizen point of view, has Rahul Gandhi unshackled himself of the sobriquet called Pappu? To my mind, he has. But in order to win votes, there has to be a greater, more unifying promise, which is not just attractive, but which is deliverable. Now, when they won Himachal and the promises they made, everyone knows, including them, that it will bankrupt the state. So the problem is not only of the Congress. You think BJP has not given freebies? Of course they have. So the same Revdi principle that the Prime Minister decries, and rightly so, is also being followed by certain BJP governments.
Right.
Our political maturity now needs to evolve. That is stifling the growth of this lovely, great country.
I think on that note, Sohail, finally you and I are agreeing on something. So I think we should end this conversation today on that note. We're out of time. But yes, I agree with you. The road ahead, as we can see, these are the markers. Both the BJP and the Congress should take a look at this conversation. Issues have been raised and flagged, which I think will become the talking point in the coming months. But thank you so much, Sohail, for this conversation.
Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.